Hello and welcome to the Morning Watch on Love 101 FM. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. A special welcome to our listeners on love101.org. And if you're overseas and on the move, US listeners can access us at 712-832-8001. And if you're in the UK, 0330-332-6541. Or join us via the Love 101 FM app that can be downloaded from the Google Play Store or the Apple Store. The show is available via the app up to a week after broadcast. In the first watch today, to trim or not to trim, examining the alleged trimming of a Rastafarian by a police officer. In the second watch, staging a gospel concert within a pandemic, evaluating last Saturday's 658 Fest. Our social media question we ask, what are your thoughts on concerts being held within a pandemic? Please share your responses on our Facebook page, Love 101 FM, and also on WhatsApp, 876-997-3125, using the hashtag The Morning Watch. We'll share your responses later on in the program. But before all of that, here's I quote.
This morning's I quote, "A challenge only becomes an obstacle when you bow to it." Ray A. Davis. Good morning.
That's a good quotation. Good morning, Shivani. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Not seeing you online.
Well, you know the challenge is with me.
There you go. Speaking about challenges, Shivani, I gather you had a very busy weekend all over the western part of the island.
Trust me, I'm quite a busy weekend.
Wow. How was it?
Very good. Really, really nice. Had a great time. Yeah. So
So you have come back revived and everything and renewed from the Western experience?
Yeah, with some more work this morning, right?
Don't we know it?
I know.
Don't we know it? Bless you, my brother. Bless you.
I tell you.
All right, the first watch will be back after this break.
Hey, psst, come closer. I want to tell you my secret. My son wears his favorite shirt for everything, and no matter how much he runs, jumps, and plays, it always looks like new and smells really good. My secret? I use Suavitel Superior Care. Keeps my family's clothes as good as new. Suavitel, as soft as a mother's love.
What does climate change mean to you?
I get to understand is it caused the weather to switch up so?
Bad weather.
Storm them stronger than before and dry time longer now.
Bad weather.
Smart and steady, get climate ready.
Visit PPCRJA on Facebook for more on climate change.
I am a man, yes. Strong man, integrity man. I am a man.
Hey man! Join us this week for part 2 of our discussion on Jamaican married men. What are some of the stereotypes about Jamaican married men? Are Jamaican men getting married for the wrong reasons? Are Christian married men maintaining the standard of what marriage should be? Well, join us this Wednesday, August 11th at 5:30 p.m. inside the mailbox as we turn eyes on Jamaican married men from a Christian and non-Christian perspective with yours truly, Kevin Bailey and Courtney Morrison. That's the program designed for men with guests who are men, hosted by men here on Love 101, the family station.
I want to address the issue of a young Jamaican lady, young girl, whose hair, it is alleged, was forcibly cut by security forces, or so the allegations go. I've been following this story very closely. And yesterday, I met with the Commissioner of Police and inquired of the status of the investigations that are ongoing. The Commissioner and I are of the same view, that in post-independence Jamaica, we should not be having this kind of conversation about people's hair choices and whether or not the state has any right to cut someone's hair. It is totally against what we believe in as Jamaicans, and I want to place that on the record. And I've asked the Commissioner to put the full investigative force at his disposal to find out whether or not there were any administrative breaches and any criminal breaches at play. There are issues as well as to how our citizens are treated when they are in custody. And we want to know if anybody's rights would have been abused.
Okay, welcome back everybody to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. It's now time for the first watch. And a while ago, you were hearing the Prime Minister, who was speaking just last night on the whole matter of the young lady having her hair trimmed. And so once again, police personnel have been accused of infringing on the rights of a member of the Rastafarian faith. The latest being this alleged trimming of a 19-year-old woman who was held at the Four Paths police station in Clarendon a few days ago. The incident came when Jamaica celebrated 183 years of emancipation on August 1, with many Jamaicans expressing the view that they do not feel the mental shackles of the country's colonial past have been eradicated. Well, to discuss these and other related issues, we have joining us this morning Corporal Rowan James, Chair of the Jamaica Police Federation, and Mr. Andre Earle, QC, Attorney at Law. Welcome to you both.
Good morning, Reverend Dr. Toussaint. Good morning, Corporal James.
Good morning.
And good morning, dear listeners.
Great. Good to have you both. And Mr. Earle, congratulations upon your appointment of QC.
Thank you very much, my brother and friend.
Well deserved.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes, before we delve into the meat of our discussion, what are your initial thoughts in regards to the alleged trimming of that young lady at the police station while she was being processed at the police station? Beginning with you, Mr. Earle.
Well, my initial thoughts are that that would be a breach of her constitutional rights. You did make it clear in your excellent introduction that this is an allegation. And
Yes.
allegations, of course, have to be thoroughly investigated, because based on what I've been seeing and hearing reported in the news subsequent to the initial report, there are certainly conflicting stories. The clip that you played from the Prime Minister, where he indicated that he has instructed the Commissioner to launch an investigation, that's a good step. However, in a matter like this, it's also important for an independent investigation to be launched. And so I'm happy to hear that Indicom has launched such an investigation.
Yes. Corporal James, your initial thoughts when you heard about the incident, alleged incident?
When I heard about the alleged incident, I immediately, being the head of the Jamaica Police Federation and represent the rank and file cohort, we initiated our own investigation, and we were happy that there were two other independent arm of the state, the Public Defender's Office as well as Indicom, that commences their own investigation. And whilst it is that I cannot pronounce on the outcome or what it is that has been unearthed at this time, I've always maintained that the rights of every citizen must be respected, and irrespective of the socio-economic background, that in our interaction with the public, we must maintain the highest level of professionalism. albeit the officers have denied the allegations. They are swirling counterclaims. We are awaiting the outcome of the entire investigation so that we can put the facts in context so that everyone can have an appreciation. But nonetheless, I must state, though, my disappointment more so with the quality of journalism, because in today's era, I would have hoped that whilst we want to learn from every arm that we do not seek to sensationalize information for the sake of media publicity only, we should seek to edify every sector of our society so that we can be further empowered as to our rights, our roles, our responsibilities. So I am somewhat taken aback by the sensationalism instead of the effective journalism that I've grown to be accustomed to. Having been acquainted with John Maxwell, I would have hoped that I would have seen that sort of journalism coming out. I'm not seeing it. And I'm wondering if this has reached the point where we are seeing journalism taking a nosedive instead of being elevated to empower the citizens of Jamaica.
You mentioned sensationalism and you have emphasized that. In what way would you say that has been done in the media?
Instead of investigating and ensuring that all sides are being made aware, I have seen 3 different accounts in the media. But I've yet to see the media fraternity narrow down and commence a true investigation that journalism requires so that the truth can come to light and the light can die. I'm yet to see that quality of journalism. Rather than placing bits and pieces out there, it would have been important that as a highly responsible body that this society looks to for shaping its narrative, its future, that they would have embarked on the quality of investigation so that whatever is placed in the public domain, it doesn't rile up the society, but it seeks to inform the society whether or not, in fact and in truth, this did in fact occur. It is all an allegation at this time, but it is placed in the context that it was an act done by the police, and I'm not going to say it's an act done by the police, it was not done by the police. I'm simply saying that the quality of journalism is lacking.
Yes, and we will soon be going to break, but I just want to make clear on this. You mentioned that there are 3 views out there in the media. Did it include any of the views from the police perspective?
Not at all. Not at all. While it is that the police denies that, and that is also out there, there are 3 different accounts that are out there, and I would want to rest there. Since it is that it's a matter that is under active investigation, I would afford the respect of the matter being sub judice, that it should be completed so that without prejudice, all parties are not prejudiced.
Yes. Okay. Totally understood. And you had mentioned well, we're at break. Could you just hold those thoughts, please? We're going to take a break and be right back.
This is Love 101. It's 7:15.
Bills to pay and funds to transfer? No problem. I do it all on my time with JN Bank Live Online Banking. It's my simple and secure as that online banking.
Phone credit need a top up? No problem. I do it with JN Bank Live Online Banking.
It's quick and easy with just a few clicks. JN Bank Live, online banking that goes where you go. Sign up today. Visit jnbank.com. JN Bank will help you find a way.
The world is full of job opportunities locally and overseas. Let us bring them to you. Register now at Distinction College, located at 2600 Park Road, Kingston, 6 Nugent Street, Spanish Town, and Ocho Rios. In 2 to 3 months, earn local and international certificates in housekeeping, food and beverage, food preparation, receptionist, and customer service. Qualified to work in hotels, cruise ships, restaurants, and businesses worldwide. No subjects required, no age limits, no entrance test. Day, evening, and Saturday classes begin very soon at low school fees, easy and flexible payment plans. Call us 356-4167.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint, and for this, the first watch, we are discussing the whole matter of the alleged trimming of a Rastafarian by a police officer. And we have online Corporal Rowan James and Mr. Andre Earle QC. Mr. Earle, what does the law of the land state in regards to an individual being in the custody of the police?
All citizens of Jamaica are entitled to the protection of their fundamental rights and freedom.
Yes.
Now, the Constitution of Jamaica has various provisions that speak to some of our rights. And for example, Section 13, subsection 3, paragraph G speaks to the right to equality before the law. Section 13.3H speaks about the right to equitable and humane treatment by any public authority in the exercise of any function. Of course, that would cover the police. Section 13.3I speaks to freedom, the right to freedom from discrimination on the ground of race, place of origin, social class, color, religion, or political opinion. And Section 13.3S speaks to the right to freedom of religion. So the Constitution recognizes these rights. The information that we have received is that this young lady was a member of the Rastafari, or is a member of the Rastafarian faith, and accordingly, on the face of it, it would seem to be a breach. If it is that the allegations, as you have described, are true, but that's a big if. And those investigations have to be completed first before we can pass judgment. But on the face of it, the law is such that your constitutional rights protect you in terms of freedom of religion.
You're mentioning, of course, the whole matter of her being a Rastafarian. Is that, well, how do I put that now? Is that the main issue in this regard, or is it the trimming of the hair while in custody, or both?
Well, I am, based on the information, again, coming out from the report, the initial complaint was that her hair was trimmed and that she's a member of the Rastafarian faith, and presumably she didn't give consent. All of this is not confirmed. It is subject to investigation. Right. But it would be an issue if it is that you're going to cut somebody's lock. And that would be a clear breach of that fundamental right to freedom of religion. And that point was reinforced, by the way, in the Kensington case. Remember that case?
Right.
The Kensington Primary School there in St. Catherine.
Right.
The Supreme Court of Jamaica, the full court, made it very clear that the whole matter of the religion and the protection of Rastafarians and Rastafarian children going to school and being able to have their hair in locks, that whole point was reinforced, and that is settled law in Jamaica. That's not even something that is subject to debate. The difference why that particular court held that there was no breach of the constitutional right of the child in that case is because it wasn't argued along the basis of a fundamental right in terms of religion.
Right.
What the lawyers were seeking to argue in that case is that you should have the right to express yourself. So if you want to have locks as your hairstyle,
that's
wrong with
that's
that.
right. That's
and
what I was alluding.
in a school system, no.
Right.
Especially as the school had put up as the reason that
Right.
there was concern about health implications insofar as life are concerned, and that the school had previous serious outbreaks of life.
So just to get it clear, Mr. Earle, a citizen of the country being in the custody of the police, based on your reading of the law, there is no right for that, for the constable, anybody, any police officer, to trim the person's hair.
Without their consent, no.
What about if it is for alleged health concerns?
Still unknown.
Such as?
I don't know that perhaps in the view of the police officer, this individual being put under detention with others would raise some concern because of the nature of the hair. I don't know.
Well,
stuff that they believe is happening in the hair. I don't know.
Yeah, that is why the investigation has to be done properly, because if it is that it is a health concern, is trimming the only way to solve that problem or address that problem? I would answer no.
If the person had just
washing the hair.
As well, if the person had decided to wash the hair, would that be a breach as well?
No, but I'm saying if it is that it is a health concern that is raised, and I don't know that that has been raised in this case, but if it is that that is the concern, I'm saying that trimming would not be the first option, especially with someone who is saying that this is a part of my religion. It's a fundamental right, and as you said in your opening, coming in a situation where we just celebrated independence and we just celebrated 183 years of emancipation, this is something which is very critical, and we can't just ignore it. If somebody is saying as a part of my faith, my religion, I have locks, then every regard has to be given to protect that. It's a fundamental right.
Okay.
I always add the caution that remember now, there are these allegations, because as Corporal James said, there are 3 different versions out there. So it would be very interesting. Though, of course, I found it interesting that Corporal James said that the police, in answer to you, the police version was not out there. I would have loved to have heard what the official police version is, even though it's subject to investigation. What is it that they are maintaining? Yes, they have denied it, but what is it that they are saying? But that aside, still an allegation.
Yeah. All right. I'm not sure if Corporal James wants to respond to what was said a while ago by Mr. Earle.
I would want to rather await the investigators aspect of it, and then for them to posit whatever needs to be posit, then I, without prejudice, can comment on it, since it would be made known to the public at large then and there.
Okay. All right. In the meantime, then, Corporal James, the newspaper reports mentioned the alleged processing of the young lady. What does that usually entail, the processing at the police station? Walk us through that.
It would entail the person being properly accounted for on record in the various station records, and the person to be properly searched and before taken into the custody area. It would also require for the officer to inquire from the person whether or not he or she has been physically abused, and that is appropriately captured on records also. So, whilst it is that we are striving to be a force for good, it is always important for us to reassure the public that from a policing perspective, they are our most valued stakeholders, and we at no material time will want to see any of our members disrespect, abuse, or infringe on the rights of any citizen. We encourage at all times the highest level of professionalism in the execution of our duties, and we from time to time will carry out briefings and debriefings, and we from time to time will also get our gentle reminder from the Commissioner of Police through the Police Emergency Control Center, which is a periodic update for members to be reminded of the public interaction policy for us to be guided by when we interact with the public, so to speak. So this is a rather unfortunate incident / allegation, but we still have to be mindful that it is currently under investigation, and without prejudice would want to await the findings.
Yeah. Corporal, at any time, does processing involve addressing concerns about the individual in custody? You know, before he or she is placed with other persons in custody. Is there any way in which that is addressed? Health concerns, the hygiene, is that a normal part of the process?
Or suicidal indication.
That too is taken into account, because mind you, if it is that this person has the propensity or has displayed any suicidal tendency that is readily observed, then it is important for the officer to place that person in a cell that the watch would be on hand, and that a cell guard would be on hand appropriately to observe this person on a round-the-clock basis. And if the person is also intoxicated, it is also that the officer will to that person.
Right. Okay. Well, we have about 2 minutes. Mr. Earle, any suggestions or recommendations to safeguard against a repeat of the alleged actions and situations?
Well, I like that repeat of the alleged actions. Well, assuming the allegations.
Yes, we've been careful enough. Andre, we've been very careful. You realize that, right? No wording. Very guarded.
If the allegations of the police being the one to have trimmed the young lady's locks without her consent, if those allegations are true, then certainly one would expect that there would be some effort on the part of the police high command. I know ACP Michael Smith, in charge of Area 3, who is one of the persons who is responsible for the investigation, and a very thorough man himself, having been at the police training college. I know that one of the things that the high command would want to do is to make sure, as Corporal James said, that the police at all levels are reminded of the protocols, are reminded, because they go through this in training, they are reminded of the constitutional rights of individuals here in our country, and that those rights must be preserved. Even if it is that you have somebody in custody, or some might say, especially when you have somebody in custody, that you have, as a public authority, as I said earlier, the duty to ensure that there is humane treatment, that there is equality before the law, and that the persons are not subject to any abuse.
Believe it or not, we have to leave it there. We want to thank you both for joining us, Mr. Earle and Corporal James Have a productive and safe day, gentlemen.
Thank you very much. And the same to you, Reverend Dr. Toussaint, and to Corporal James.
Thank you.
Take care.
Listen, the Morning Watch will return in just a moment.
Auto Loan, helping you on your journey. Roll out and make a statement in your brand new vehicle.
The time by JN will help you find a way is
7:31.
Enjoy the new Protex. Same protection, but now enriched with natural flaxseed oil. Eliminates 99.9% of bacteria naturally. Protex, for the good health of your skin.
DJ Bounce. Make we rich together with Digicel. Just call 142 or dial star 142 number sign from your prepaid phone for a chance to win your share of $42 million in cash and prizes. Enter to get $500 bonus credit. Smartphone users get 500 megabytes any use data and 1 gigabyte BIP data, while non-smartphone users get 10 minutes and 50 SMS free for Digicel to Digicel calls and texts. Each entry costs $100. From now until September 14th, make we rich together with Digicel. Authorized under Section 58.3 of the Betting, Gaming, and Lotteries Act.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us as we continue to look at the issues of the day. And so we look in the Gleaner. Brianna Williams returns home to news of grandmother's passing. Then we see that Rick's Cafe's manager charged over Mocha Fest event freed. And also, Prime Minister Holness on the night announced tighter COVID containment measures, including new curfew hours as the government races to slow the third wave of COVID-19 in Jamaica. In the Observer, vaccine pivot, government bows to criticism, going to communities to counter hesitancy. Labour and Social Security Minister Carl Samuda has condemned the recent violent attack on a Jamaican farm worker in Canada. Those are some of the major stories in our newspapers. Coming up next, we'll read for you some of the feedback from our social media question. What are your thoughts on concerts being held within a pandemic? Please leave a comment on our Facebook page at Love 101 FM Jamaica or WhatsApp 876-997-3125. And we also want to say that in case you want to comment on the first watch, you may also do so. We'll accommodate those comments as well. Soon come back.
Love 101 wants to say thank you to our sponsors for the I Love Summer Tour. University of the Commonwealth Caribbean, UCC, fostering leadership and innovation. Shade Purified Water, drink up, stay cool. Distinction College, providing opportunities for you. Fosrich, your solar lighting and LED people. Chris and Charles, when you think loans, think Chris and Charles. Jamaica Customs Agency, country above self. It's the I Love Summer Tour. It's time to explore. The I Love Summer Tour is on the family station, Love 101.
I love it. Here is a reminder from Love 101, the family station. As we face this COVID-19 pandemic, be kind and support loved ones during this time. Check in regularly on others, especially those who are affected. Encourage them to keep doing what they enjoy. Share accurate COVID-related information with them to manage anxiety. I am Jonathan Fletcher from Love 101, reminding you to protect yourself while protecting others. Stay safe and keep it locked on Love 101, the family station.
He knows my name.
Here is your opportunity to connect with someone who will listen, pray, and give guidance. It's the telephone counseling ministry of the Edgewater Baptist Church. Please call 876-220-6474. Weekdays between 8 a.m. and 9 p.m. and Sundays between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. Please talk to someone if you're finding it particularly challenging to cope during this period of global crisis. Someone is waiting for your call. Please reach out today. 876-220-6474. It's the telephone counseling ministry of the Edgewater Baptist Church.
This is a reminder that somebody cares. Endorsed by Love 101.
He knows my name.
Love 101 wants to say thank you to our sponsors for the I Love Summer Tour. University of the Commonwealth Caribbean, UCC, fostering leadership and innovation. Shade Purified Water, drink up, stay cool. Distinction College, providing opportunities for you. Fosrich, your solar lighting and LED people. Chris and Charles, when you think loans, think Chris and Charles. Jamaica Customs Agency, country above self. It's the I Love Summer Tour. It's time to explore. The I Love Summer Tour is on the family station, Love 101.
Welcome back. You're tuned into the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. Let's join Shavoni for a look at how our Facebook and WhatsApp friends answered the question. What are your thoughts on concerts being held within a pandemic? Shavoni?
All right. So let me see. Let me see. Keboy says, I don't say anything, wrong about staging a gospel concert in a pandemic based on 3 pillars. 1, if they were granted permission from the Minister of Entertainment. Okay. 2, following the protocols outlined by the government. 3, put a time frame so you don't go outside of that. Right? Jones says it's quite normal, In my opinion, we're not mirroring the world, and unbelievers, they do other things. So as Christians, pretty much we are to observe protocols. I think that's what she's trying to say, right? This one says no concert should be held in a pandemic. We must be wise and use the virtual platforms. We must consider the well-being of our people rather than making money. And I saw this on Instagram that says events can take place within a pandemic, but should be done within forced rules and regulations to prevent breach of protocols governing the pandemic. All right, I'll leave it there. Keep the convo going.
Sounds pretty positive, Shavani.
Yeah.
Okay, right. Okay. It's now time for the second watch. And on the weekend, the gospel industry staged its first major concert since the March 2020 COVID entry. And this concert was dubbed the 658 Fest. Big question, should we be having such events during a pandemic while COVID numbers are rising and hospitals are in the red zone? And if so, what lessons can we learn from the 658 Fest experience? Really, what should we do? But to answer these and other related questions, we have joining us Mr. Kevin Downswell, gospel artist and the 658 Fest promoter, and Dr. Yohan White, immunologist. Good morning to you both.
Good morning. Thanks for having me, and good morning to your listeners. Thanks for tuning in.
Great. Good to have you, Dr. White. Kevin, are you there?
Yes, morning.
Right. Good to have you as well. Well, let's begin with you, Mr. Downswell. Why was I'm just curious, why was the gospel concert called 658 Fest? And why would it still held in spite of the fact that we are in a pandemic?
658 Fest. 876 is the old era code for Jamaica. 658 is the new era code for Jamaica. So that's why we decided to call it 658 Fest.
Okay. And why did you still have it in spite of the pandemic?
when the government opened up the country, was a chance, it was an opportunity for the Christian community to have something on the outside that we've not had for almost a year and a half. When the country opened up, the party goers went wild. And we believe that this nation is a Christian nation. We believe that we had an opportunity to do something to bring glory and honor to God in a setting that we've not had in a long time. So when we heard of the country being locked down, partially being locked down again, we decided that we were not going to back down, because as with all the parties and all the glory going to other names, we needed to find a way to lift up the name of Jesus in a setting like that, safely. Not just that.
Yes.
We wanted to establish a template that the government may see that this is possible, that we can be on the outside, have a template and a structure where people are safe, and that's what we accomplished.
Okay. Dr. White, what are your recommendations or concerns in light of what Kevin just said?
Indeed. Thanks again for having me.
Yes.
The pandemic has put an immense toll on everyone. I mean, having to be locked in, separated from your family and loved ones, and being at home, you don't know people's living situation. You don't know family dynamics. You don't know community dynamics. And being at home can have a negative impact on some persons, right? And so, it's a valid concern that social isolation and loneliness and feeling depressed, it's a real challenge that we all have to deal with. And, as you know, Jamaicans like to be entertained. We like to sing and move, and that applies to all sectors of society. I grew up in church, Pentecost in Ocherius, Bethel Tabernacle. So I know the importance of being social and being with your brethren and so on.
Yes.
We, as said by Mr. Downswell, there are considerations for safety of yourself, safety of other patrons, and safety of your family when you return home, because there is a virus that is going around, and unfortunately it is deadly for some persons, and we haven't quite figured out exactly how to predict who will do well and who will not do well.
Right.
So there are public health decrees and government stipulations and disaster risk management stipulations, laws that we will have to abide by. But once those measures are respected, in addition to that, it's important to put certain specific measures on the ground in place, such as limiting the number of persons who are gathering, ensuring that you have a mask mandate, ensuring that there is considerations to the type of ventilation that you have, because there are different risks. Indoor ventilation, locked up in an air-conditioned building, no matter how big, poses a higher level of risk as opposed to being outside where you have fresh air diluting the amount of virus that's available to infect someone. And then also to consider that certain activities are associated with a greater risk of spread. So we know that singing, for example, singing leads to the spreading of more aerosols or droplets from your mouth and airway.
Yes.
And so adequate space would have to be provided. And, you probably will have to recognize that having a choir is not going to be a good idea.
Dr. White, I'm so sorry. We're
Sure.
at break. Could you just hold that thought? We'll be right back.
This is Love 101 at 7:45.
Did you say so winning and everybody know this? I saw my full of cash and prizes. Million every week, make a running for the niceness. Call 142 for the richness. DJ, bounce, Digicel and make a rich together. DJ.
Make we rich together with Digicel. Just call 142 or dial star 142 number sign for a chance to win your share of $42 million in cash and prizes. Each entry costs $100. From now until September 14th, make we rich together with Digicel. Authorized under Section 58.3 of the Betting, Gaming, and Lotteries Act.
Enjoy the new Protex. Same protection, but now enriched with natural flaxseed oil. Eliminates 99.9% of bacteria naturally. Protex, for the good health of your skin.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint, and in this, the second half of our second watch, we are looking at the whole matter of staging a gospel concert within a pandemic as we evaluate last Saturday's 658 Fest. And we have online Mr. Kevin Downswell and Dr. Yohan White. Dr. White, before the break, you were telling us about some of the concerns.
Right. So yes, I was just pretty much outlining the measures that one would have to ensure in place in order to protect your patrons and to recognize what activities are associated with a higher risk of spread. But importantly, one of the tools that we have to protect ourselves is immunization, so vaccines. And if you're able to have patrons declare their vaccination status or to provide certain arrangements that take into consideration whether people are vaccinated or not, because those who are not vaccinated harbor more virus and they spread it much faster. It would be good to take those things into consideration, and also just to be practical. I mean, if you do want to have a gathering, you do have to recognize the law, of course, limit your size. The size of your gathering, but also considering hybrid arrangements. So having it broadcasted online or access through a Zoom link so that some persons can tune in from home as well.
So basically, you are okay with the staging of this fest, which took place over the weekend?
Well, I was not there, and I do not know the numbers. So once you were compliant with the public health stipulations and the law and the numbers, and you didn't have people at risk, there are other events going on that have been events that have put people at great risk, and we will see the fallout from that in a couple of weeks. So, there's a lot to balance. Again, I say, being locked up in the home, the separation from your loved ones and your inability to socialize with people, it does have an immense toll on the mental health of individuals. So it's a real balance. But, as I've said, recognizing the measures that work, recognizing your risk in different situations, and then trying to mitigate those risks, and also being compliant with the law and public health stipulations. And again, vaccination, because we know that works in preventing people from dying and from being hospitalized.
Okay. Mr. Downswell, for those of us who were not there, sort of paint a picture for us. Where was it held? How many persons attended? And how were the protocols adhered to?
When we start in our meetings, the most important thing to us was the safety of our patrons, and we made sure we covered every area. From the get-go, from the very start of the advertising of the marketing campaign, we released a video of the structure of how the event was going to be set up. And one of the most important things that we sent out to everyone was patrons will be seated on decks. Patrons were seated on decks, and those decks were decks that could house 12 chairs, but instead we only added 6 chairs. So there were three chairs at the back of the deck and 3 chairs at the front of the deck. And then the decks themselves were spaced. And the decks also had barriers around each deck. So safety was everything to us. Not just that, but we had sanitization stations throughout the venue. That was very important. We also have had Jackden, a sanitization company. We had 30 of the representatives on site, and every spot, everything that was touched, especially the stage, knowing that there was so much interaction at the stage railing, everything, every minute. It was clean, it was sprayed, it was everything, the mics, everything. So when it comes to that, the safety of the patrons, that was our priority, and we would have never gone forward. Not just that, but we worked side by side with the Ministry of Entertainment and with the government, and we made sure to ensure that every step we took, they were informed, and then they would say, okay, that's fine. Bring the numbers down. We can expect 50%, bring it down to 20%.
Where was it held? Where was it held?
Police Officers Club.
Where was it held? And what
is to hold. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, was there Dr. White mentioned about vaccination. Was that a part of the protocols that were adhered to? Was that factored in the equation in terms of who goes where and entry? Was that a part of the planning and concern?
Absolutely. We had areas for vaccinated persons only. So when it comes to
same cost, Kevin, same cost. They pay the same cost as the others who are unvaccinated?
No. We made sure that the vaccinated had a reduced cost. So the vaccinated, a discount cost of $2,000, and the general price was $3,000.
Oh.
So working with the government was very important, because we had to ensure that we were abiding by all the protocols. Artem was on site all day throughout the event, and they would walk up to me every now and then and said, sir, could you ensure that don't happen and this don't happen? And I would be like, yes, ma'am, no problem. So throughout the whole course of the event, not just that, but Police Officers Club is able to hold 10,000 people. We were asked to not go above 2,000. Our event had 500 persons. So that in itself also was very important. They said 10,000. They then said no more than 50%. Then they said down to 20%. So in every way, we ensured that the laws, the government was honored, and the people's safety was also a priority. Every step of the way.
It's sounding good. Were there any challenges, though? Major challenges that you experienced?
I think when persons came, they knew exactly what they needed to do. But we had a lot of volunteers, we had a lot of security, and we had a lot of persons from the sanitization company who were able to help us to ensure that we remind persons, not just that, but the MCs on the stage, Nadine Blair and Basili and Ava, they made sure to remind persons every now and then, hello guys, we're in a pandemic, keep your masks on. This is very important. Make sure you stay this and how much feet apart. So throughout the event, even though we're worshiping and we're lifting up the name of Jesus Christ, we needed to ensure persons, hey, make sure. So from the start to the finish, first, at the end of the show, actually, when I was about to come off stage, I asked the person, tell me something. Did you feel safe coming out today? And everybody shouted yes. And I said, did you feel safe being at the event today? And everybody was happy for that. And they actually aired their appreciation of the steps that we went, how far we went to ensure their safety on social media and all of those platforms. Thanking us for us going that far to ensure that they were okay. After that, we also ensured that they were by JUTC.
And everybody wore their masks throughout the entire event, apart from those who were performing or emceeing.
That was everything to us, because we really wanted to you see, as Doctor said, people have been struggling. You'd be amazed at the amount of persons who left the event, who sent us messages saying, I feel free, I feel encouraged, I feel strengthened. Thank you. Thank you for helping my family get through something. I came to the event depressed and I left revived.
Okay, Dr. White, looking forward now, based on what Mr. Downswell just reported, and we are still in a pandemic, and it doesn't seem as if it's going away anytime soon. What words of advice would you give to future planners and patrons of similar events?
Let me commend Mr. Downswell for recognizing the importance of lifting people's spirit. And, I'm sure, as you indicated, the patrons appreciated that. And thanks for doing all the preparatory work that you did and invested in ensuring that people were safe. I'd encourage you to continue to share your experience so that other persons in the future can follow suit and see that it can work. Now, whether we have more events in the future will depend on how things unfold. We are seeing that the numbers are going up and they look like they may exceed the previous peaks that we've had, right? We know that the Delta variant is more than likely here. It's about 5 to 10 times or at least twice as infectious or easily spread as the original pandemic virus. It means that it's easier to spread. It means that we need to be strict with the physical distancing and the gathering restrictions. So the government and public health authorities will make adjustments as to the percentage occupancy that is allowed, whether there will be any events, permits. We heard last night from the Prime Minister that there will be no permits issued for new events. And so, there's a lot to factor in. The hospitals are at capacity and some of them are beyond. So for the foreseeable future, we may not, it is not advisable to, or we won't be allowed to have such events. And we just have to adjust now by trying to have hybrid arrangements online, because that also is important. That does facilitate some connection between persons and you can still worship in that forum. But also, I'm glad that you mentioned that during the event, you kept reminding persons about wearing masks and physical distancing and so on. And now we have a tool, immunization, vaccination, that we know works to reach out to your audience virtually, in person, to encourage them to turn up for the immunization, because we're in this, it's going to be a long haul. And we're seeing that the vaccines are not 100%, but, they are still effective in preventing people from going to the hospital and from dying, right? I think persons who are hesitant, it's because we're benefiting from some of the effective public health measures that we've seen. So a sort of complacency has crept in, unfortunately. But more and more, everybody, I think, knows somebody who has been to hospital, somebody who has been to intensive care unit, somebody who has died. And, we've heard that the toll is higher on persons of a certain age. That may be true, but do recognize that young persons, I've had patients younger than myself who started out fine. I mean, you thought the risk was low, you still counsel, you still advise, and then suddenly a downhill turn, and we've actually lost patients who are otherwise healthy, younger than myself. I'm in my 30s. And, it really makes you think, So I just encourage you to encourage your constituents and church members to accept the vaccine. If you have doubts, reach out to your doctor. You can also follow the more educational pages on social media. I try to give accurate information. Kariba Wellness on Twitter and Instagram, Kariba JA, and so on. We try to share information that is useful. We try to answer people's questions, because people do have valid concerns about side effects, about effectiveness, about if they have a medical condition, if it's good to take it. And I think people just want to be heard, but it's also important that religious leaders, spiritual leaders, engage their constituents and to say, this is one tool in addition to the other things that we're doing, that we're going to work our way through this pandemic.
Okay. Well, we have to leave it there. We want to thank you both for joining us, Dr. White and Mr. Downswell. Congratulations, Kevin, on a successful staging.
Thank you. Excellent. Thanks for having me.
And all the best to you both. Thank you.
All the best to you both and to your listeners.
All right. Thank you, listeners, for being with us. Join us again tomorrow as we continue to set the stage for discussion of topical and controversial issues. Download the Love 101 FM app so you can listen to the program again. This has been the Morning Watch. Thanks to our producer and to our guests. I'm Dylan Toussaint, reminding you to be purposeful, faithful, thankful, and watchful as I hand you back to Love in the Morning with the busy Siobhan Blair.
Have a great day.
You too, Mr. Busy.
This is